Hi all, welcome to the CA classroom. In today's lecture, we'll be discussing Unit 2 of the Sale of Goods Act, which talks about conditions and warranties in a sale. What do you mean by this? Condition is something that is essential to the main purpose of the contract, and warranty is something that is collateral to the main purpose of the contract. Let me give you a simplest example. Let's say I'm going to buy a marker in the shop. I'm asking him that I want a blue marker, blue temporary marker which can write on the whiteboard and I can erase it. That is my requirement, that is the condition of the product. Now let's say instead of giving me a blue temporary marker, he is given me a black marker which is a permanent marker. The condition of purchasing this marker was that it should be able to write, I should be able to write and I should be able to erase it. But when I get a black marker, the essential condition of purchasing the product is lost. Therefore, condition itself is not satisfied. Then what can I do? Obviously, I can return the product and claim my money. So I can cancel the contract. I can cancel the contract, or I can claim damages, So I can repudiate the contract or cancel the contract, or I can also claim damages. What do you mean by warranty? Now he told me this pen has a life where I can write, let's say, if this is let's say 1 feet, the length of this ink can go up to let's say 100 feet. Example. He says this ink can be written up to 100 feet of length. Now, but actually when I use and test it, it comes only for 70 feet. So, the ink is not able to meet with the requirement what he has mentioned. I have asked the requirement of 100 feet. It is not able to meet with that requirement. And therefore, the warranty given by him is not satisfied. In this case, can I cancel the contract? No. You can only claim damages. So, in case of a condition, the aggrieved party has right to repudiate the contract, cancel the contract, or claim damages. But in case of warranty, the affected party can only claim damages. So it is left to me. I can cancel the contract by applying this condition over saying the condition is not met, or I can also claim damages. If I choose to claim damages, then it means condition is treated as a warranty. This is the introduction for condition and warranties. Now let us go to understand what are implied condition, implied warranties, and few other concepts in this unit. Now both condition and warranty can be both express and implied. Express condition meaning, as a seller, I will expressly add my own set of conditions and add my own set of warranties. Implied condition and implied warranty meaning, whether or not the seller and buyer agree with it, this is automatically part of your contract of sale. Automatically is part of your contract of sale unless I have expressly cancelled any of these or expressly contradicting any of these statements. First, warranty has to undisturbed possession. First, let us finish implied warranty, then we will proceed to implied conditions. Warranty has to undisturbed possession. Let's say A and B are two friends. A sold his mobile phone to B. So, A bought let's say iPhone 12. So, he is selling his old iPhone 11 to B. And B purchased it. For him it is a new iPhone. Now, after selling it, A's iPhone 12 stopped working, so he gave it for service. So A has asked B, for the next 3-4 days, can you give my iPhone 11 back to me? I want to use it for a few days. So B gives it back to A. 3 days, okay, only friend, known friend, let me give it back to him. Again after 3 days, he is extending it for 10 days, 15 days, 1 month, okay, B left it. After 1 month, A gave the phone back to B. Again after 3 months, he is asking his phone back for 15 days for using it. Is this allowed? No. When you buy a good, you have the possession of it. The seller cannot disturb the possession of it by giving various conditions. There is warranty, implied warranty, whether seller is specifying it or not. There is implied warranty as to undisturbed possession, I have possession of the goods. Warranty as to non-existence of encumbrances. What do you mean by this? Let's say State Bank of India gave a loan to X to buy a car. Let's say X bought Hyundai i20. Now X is selling this car to Y. EMI is still not fully paid, some dues are pending, loan is taken, there is an encumbrance, on the I-20. There is a charge on the asset. Now, X has sold this car to Y without intimating him about the loan due against the car. So now bank is asking Y to pay the money. Y will pay the money to bank and later claim it from X. Here there is warranty as to non-existence of encumbrances. If there is any encumbrances, any attachment against the property or the car that he is purchasing, he can claim the money from the seller. Disclosure of dangerous nature of goods. For example, 5-10 years back, let's go 10 years back, all the mobile phones, you will easily be able to remove the back case, take the battery out and again put the battery back. Correct? 5-10 years back. But today, the last few years, all the mobiles you get, you cannot take the case behind. Battery is attached, you cannot remove it from the phone. If you try to remove the battery from the phone might explode, there might be some issues. Now you might have seen in the MI phone, they will put a label, warning label on the back of the phone saying, do not try to remove the back case, you cannot remove it, battery is attached, do not try to detach it. So, disclosure of dangerous nature of goods. If MI has not informed me about the dangerous nature of goods, don't open the back case, and then if I opened it, then I automatically have warranty, implied warranty for this. I can claim against the company that you did not inform about this, so I opened it. Otherwise, MI is now informing the sticker on the back of the phone. Looking at that, they are given a warning symbol, therefore you should not open it. Another example, they say, if you see in most of the medicines, they say it cannot be used for children below the age of 3. It is always 3 plus or 6 plus or 9 plus. If the company failed to mention a medicine is for about 3 years, and if you use the medicine for a 2-year or 1-year-old kid, if any health issue occurs, then you have automatic warranty to sue the company. So disclosure of dangerous nature of goods, the seller has to disclose if there is any dangerous nature of goods. If he is not disclosing it, then the buyer will get the implied warranty. Warranty as to quality or fitness by usage of trade. What do you mean by this? Let's say there is a market. In this market, everybody are selling, let's say, mangoes which are from Andhra Pradesh. Mangoes from Andhra Pradesh. Let's say there are 20 different sellers. Everybody are selling mangoes from Andhra Pradesh, and for the last 10 plus years, if you go to this market, it is known in the market and nearby areas that you will get mangoes from Andhra Pradesh in this area. Tomorrow I am a seller. I joined this market as a mango seller and I am selling mangoes. But these mangoes are from a different location. Let's say it is from Gujarat. I am purchasing them from Gujarat and selling in this location. Now, as a buyer, when I go there, by usage of trade, by trade parlance, I know that in that locality I only get Andhra mangoes, so I am going to buy that particular quality of mango. One particular seller is selling mangoes which he purchased from Gujarat, which I didn't know and I purchased it. Later I found out. Can I sue him? Yes, because you have warranty, usage of trade. When something is there in the trade area and everybody knows only you get these type of mangoes over here, the seller has to specifically inform to the buyer that what I am selling in this area is different from what you usually get in this place. This is the example for warranty as to quality of fitness by usage of trade. These are the 4 points under implied warranty. Let us proceed to the next concept. Now let us understand the next set, implied conditions. What do you mean by implied conditions? These are part of the sale, essential to the sale. Whether seller mentions this or not, all these points should be satisfied. First, condition as to title of goods. When I am purchasing a mobile, let's say I am purchasing a mobile, I will obviously have a title for mobile. I will have a right to resell it to somebody else. In case if it is an agreement to sell, I will have a right to sell it in the future to somebody else. I have the title ownership for the goods. Sale by sample. Now, let's say you go to a showroom for buying a mobile. In display, there will be a mobile in display. You will see the mobile in display. You will like it. Then you will go and purchase it. So, What is there in the sample is what you should get when you buy the product. Sample cannot be some other product, and what you actually buy cannot be a different product. Both should match. Sale by description. Let's say in the website they have mentioned phone has 8 GB RAM, 512 GB storage, etc. But when you actually purchase the mobile, you realize it's only 4 GB RAM and 256 GB storage. Then description given in the website is this, but the actual description is this. Therefore, it is not matching. There is no implied condition. You have the right to repudiate, cancel the contract, or claim your damages. Sale by sample as well as description. He is given me a sample and he is giving me details of description. The final product should match both the sample and description. Let's say sample and description. The product is matching, the final product what I received is matching the sample but not matching the description. One possibility. Another possibility, it is matching the description, same specifications, but sample was white but the actual phone was black in color. So it is not matching the sample. Both sample and description is not matching. In all the three cases, implied condition is breached. You have right to cancel the contract or claim your damages. When is it right? Both the final product what you receive should match the sample you have seen and should also comply with the description provided by the seller. Condition as to quality or fitness by goods. Generally this condition is not applicable, but however where the buyer is specifically giving instruction to the seller and relying on the skill of the seller, then there is condition as to quality or fitness. Let's say I go to a tailor to get a suit stitched for me. I tell him I am getting the suit stitched for a particular function or a particular board meeting I have to attend. These are the specifications, it should be in this color, this should be the tone. I give him all the instructions and measurements and go. But when I come back, it's not fitting me, it's not suiting properly. Then there is a clear implied condition as to quality and fitness, not satisfied. I went to this particular tailor only for his skill and the skill is not met. You have right to cancel the contract or claim your damages. Condition as to merchantability and condition as to wholesomeness. First, let's see what's condition as to merchantability. No. Very simple. Let's say I am purchasing a clock. It has time. Now, let's say I set the time for 3 p.m. and every day, once one full rotation is completed, after 24 hours is completed, the clock tends to become 5 minutes late. So daily clock is automatically becoming 5 minutes late and every day I have to reverse it by 5 minutes. Now, is this clock usable for me? Can I go and sit every day change 5 minutes? No. The purpose of buying the clock is it should be merchantable. That is, it should not have any defects. There should not be any latent defects in the goods. It should be available. If I want to sell it to somebody else, it should be marketable. Product should be marketable. I should be able to resell it to somebody else and I should also be able to use it for the quality it offers. When I buy a clock and if it's 5 minutes late, then obviously the product is not merchantable. What do you mean by condition as to wholesomeness? Condition as to wholesomeness is nothing but condition as to merchantable, applicable for a perishable and consumable product. Perishable and consumable product. Basically, it should be fit for home consumption. Let's say you go to a bakery and buy a bread. Now, he is biting the bread in half and giving you the product. He is saying the bread is in good quality, it is healthy, freshly baked. But is it wholesome? No, somebody has already bitten it. How can I take it? It is not wholesome. It is not fit for my home consumption. It is not consumable for me. So, these are the implied conditions we have discussed. Let us proceed to the next concept in Sale of Goods Act, Unit 2. Now, let us discuss certain cases where a condition will be treated as a warranty. Now, when will a condition be treated as a warranty? There are two buckets over here. One, voluntarily the buyer himself is treating a condition as a warranty. Compulsory in certain cases, condition has to be treated as a warranty. First, let us see what are warranty cases. Waives performance of the contract. Let's say Voltas AC. From Voltas AC, I am purchasing an AC for my house. The condition upon sale was he will deliver the AC to my house and install the AC in my house. However, on the date of delivery, he delivers the AC but he fails to install it. Now, there is a breach of condition, but what I am doing, I am leaving it, I am installing it myself, and I am also not claiming any damages. I won't pay for installation, so I am waiving the performance of the contract, leaving it on. Elects to treat a condition as a warranty. Now, let's say I purchased rice. I was supposed to receive grade A rice at rupees 600 per kg, but instead the seller by mistake, not intentionally, has sold grade B. He has given me grade B rice which is worth only 550 per kg. 550 per kg. Now what I can do, I can cancel the contract and return the rice, or if I feel okay, I will take this rice, I will claim the damages. What is the damages? The differential amount. Let's say today if you want to buy grade A from the market, let's say it is 620, I have to spend extra 20 rupees for buying from market of grade A. The damages alone I will claim from the seller. I elect to treat the condition as warranty. When will this happen? In all the cases where there is an implied condition or an express condition which has been breached by the seller, where you are not cancelling the contract and only claiming damages, then automatically it means you are treating condition as warranty. Why? Because in case of a warranty, the only remedy you have is to claim the damages. Here also if I am going to claim damages, then it means I am treating the condition as a warranty. Next, what are the two cases in which there is compulsory conversion of condition into a warranty? Non-severability of contract, meaning contract cannot be split. Let's say you are constructing a new building for which the supplier promised to give you sand, bricks and cement. Now, let's say he had given you sand and bricks, he did not give you cement. Meanwhile, for temporary purpose, you purchased cement from outside and half the construction of building was over. Now, the contract entered with the constructor, let's say DLF Constructions, was let's say 10 crores for the entire building. Now, half construction is over. Can I cancel the contract in half and only pay half the money? No. There are certain cases where you cannot break the contract into parts. Severability is impossible. Therefore, in these cases, you cannot cancel the contract, but you can claim damages from the party. Fulfillment of conditions excused by law. Very simple. Let's say, for example, India is buying certain products from China. There is a contract between two parties, one sitting in India and another one sitting in China. Tomorrow, if there is going to be a war between two countries, hypothetically speaking, if there is going to be a war, then the contract between these two parties cannot be fulfilled. It is excused by law. Automatically, both the countries will become alien enemy. Impossibility of performance of contract. Therefore, condition is excused by law. Now, you cannot perform this condition. You can only claim the damages. Let us proceed to the next concept. Now, let us discuss the last concept in Unit 2, which talks about caveat emptor, which means let the buyer beware. Now, throughout the chapter, in implied conditions, implied warranty, who was getting the benefit? Seller has to be more responsible for implied condition, implied warranty. Buyer was getting the benefit of the doubt. Buyer was getting all the benefits, all the privileges the act was giving. But here what they are saying, caveat emptor, buyer has to be beware. That means buyer has to be careful. For example, let's say you go to a fruit shop where there are fruits kept in display. You are buying 1 kg of apples where there is 100 kg of apples available over there. You are randomly picking 10 apples, going to the billing counter, getting it billed. Then when you come home and see, half kg of apples already spoiled. Whose fault was this? It is the buyer's fault. You are not careful in buying the goods. You have to ordinarily examine something before you buy. Do some basic checks before you buy the goods. Let's say you go to a textile shop. You buy a shirt. You just see the shirt, bill it and come home. After coming home, it is not fitting you properly or there are some holes here and there. Whose fault it is? Again, it is the buyer's fault. Seller displayed all the shirts he had. You have to carefully pick a shirt, wear it, see if it fits you, see if there are any defects, then you have to buy it. You cannot blindly buy something and come and then blame it on the seller. However, this rule has some exceptions. What are these exceptions? Very important for the exam. Most of these points are already covered in your implied warranty and implied conditions. First, fitness as to quality or use. If I specifically inform the seller that I want a particular quality and it is for this particular purpose, then he has to give you the good of that purpose. If he does not give you the good for that specific purpose, then the seller cannot say, buyer was not beware, it is not my fault. I had already informed to him that I want this good to be of this quality. In case of description, let's say mobile phone again, he has mentioned it will have 8 GB RAM and 128 GB storage. After giving the description, seller is giving description, I am purchasing it. When I am purchasing, I did not check this. I went home, later I found out it is not 8 GB RAM. Then caveat emptor will not come. The seller cannot say, buyer was not careful. Description was already mentioned. Seeing the description only I purchased. Here you cannot use the rule of caveat emptor. Similarly, merchantable quality, same principle. In case of sample and sample plus description, when a sample is given, the final output should match the sample. This time the buyer cannot, the seller cannot say, no, you are not careful. For example, let's say you go to a mobile showroom, you saw the sample, looking at the sample, you purchased the phone was in sealed box, you went home, after 2 days you opened the sealed box. The actual product was not matching with the sample, then you cannot say, seller cannot say buyer was not beware, buyer was not careful. I purchased looking at the sample, therefore I have the difference. Same way for sample plus description, same way for trade usage, that mango example we had discussed. Now, 2 new points. All these points are already covered in implied condition or implied warranty. Some points over there. 2 new points are, seller actively conceals the defect or is guilty of fraud. Now, let's say you go to purchase a table in a furniture shop. What happens in the table? The wood was not proper, it was all broken, but what the seller did, he just painted on the top, or he kept a flower vase over there, or he kept a sticker over there, 50% sale, to cover the defect. Actively, intentionally is covering the defect so that you don't see it. His intention was to cheat you. Then in those cases, you cannot say caveat emptor, buyer was not beware. Seller actively is concealing the defect in the product. Last one, goods sold under a patent or brand name. No. When you purchase products with brand name, let's say Nike shoes or Adidas shoes, you trust the brand more than the shop where you are buying it. So I randomly walk into an Adidas showroom. I have been using Adidas shoes for the past 10 years. I know my shoe size is 10. So I go to him, ask him for a shoe size of 10, choose a design, pack it, come home. Because I trust the brand. Now when I come home, the shoe size is actually 9 and there is a defect in the product, the shoe is torn in the side. I go back to the storekeeper is saying, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, you should have been careful, you should have worn the shoe and checked if it was proper for you. No, he cannot give this excuse over here because I am trusting the brand name. When you buy products under a patent or a brand name, it has to meet the quality. Even if you don't check, you have the right against it. This is the concept of caveat emptor and the exceptions. This is about Unit 2 of Sale of Goods Act. Thank you.